Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Lainey Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am your host, Lainey Cavazos, and I am so excited to have here with me Dr. Sheri Rosenthal. She is the CEO of Wanderlust Entrepreneur and Journeys of the Spirit, her travel company. She has been designing, leading, and managing transformational retreats since the year of 2000. So you have here a seasoned expert with you. And when she had the incredible honor of managing retreats for Don Miguel Ruiz, author of The Four Agreements, since then, she has planned over 1,000 retreats across the globe and trained over 25,000 coaches, healers, and heart center entrepreneurs to craft transformational, profitable, soul-aligned retreats that actually sell out. Sheri, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Lenny. It's so fun to be with you here. We've been together in person, so it's always nice to be, together however we can do it and hanging out with everyone who's listening today.
Yeah, so for everyone who's listening to this, Sheri and myself, well, we've met in the online space many, many times, but last year in October, we actually met in person at the Sellout Retreat Summit in San Diego. And she's going to be a speaker at the Sellout Retreat Summit in Mexico in September. So if you want to come see her in person, this is a place to be. Now, because this is not a place where everything is about commercials, we're going to get down into the juicy piece of retreats. So Sheri, just tell me a little bit about why retreats, right? You're so great at so many things. Why choose retreats? Why help retreat leaders?
Well, first of all, my life changed on that very first retreat that I went on. So for me, that is a very special way of getting together with people and having a deep experience. So I love helping retreat leaders create their own retreats because they're the transformational leaders. They're changing the world. And I know there are a lot of people out there that go, oh, Sheri, I'd love to do a retreat, but I'm not a coach. And, I'm not an author. I'm not a mentor. Can I still run a retreat? And I say absolutely, absolutely yes. If you have a community of people who are like-minded, you can run retreats. And even if you think they're not transformational, I have seen incredible transformation on even the craziest retreats that you would think would never be transformational, because being with people in community that are like-minded and have like a similar reason for being together, that itself is transformational. Never mind being somewhere special and having a beautiful experience. So yeah, I'm a retreat fan. I will always be a retreat fan.
I love that. And it reminds me of one of my clients. He actually had one of the biggest transformations for his clients was on a zip line.
Absolutely, Lenny. Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that we know, right, everything that happened in this space, and I love that your first retreat was so transformational. I have to tell you, my first retreat, I left it halfway through the retreat. I traveled all the way to Nepal, and it was a private retreat. So I hired a private retreat. It was for detox and sound healing and breath work. And it was supposed to be a couple that was running this retreat. And I arrived, and then there's this old guy who welcomes me, and he's like, "Oh, Lainey, I thought you were a man." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much," right? And he's like, "Well, my wife actually left to be with his sister because we know we thought you were a man, so it was okay that she was not here. And she was like the breathwork instructor, right? Like with 20 years of experience. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay here. And it was like in their house, right? It was a very like kind of private experience. You go and you live the culture and you do the thing. And by day two, I just had to leave. Like I didn't, and the guy was a perfectly nice person, right? I knew he was not going to do anything to me, but I did not feel safe. So I was sleeping. And then if anyone who's been in Nepal, you know that the power goes out every 5 minutes. So
Yes.
I was there and then I had to talk to him. And I said, like, look, I don't want my money back. This is not about the money, but I don't feel this is what I signed up for and I'm not getting what I want. So I just rather go explore Nepal and have more fun and go get my own like personal private sound healings and do my thing. And I got this response of, well, it's because you're not ready for this work. And I said, like, I am ready for this work, but not in this container. Thank you so much. And I left.
Wow. Yeah. And that's okay. This story that you just shared is also why I'm so passionate about educating, because it's very, very important for retreat leaders to be in their integrity. What they say they're going to deliver, they need to deliver. They need to be clear about who the retreat is for and what is going to be happening and what it's going to look like. Because I feel very strongly, and you know this, Lenny, I believe that as retreat leaders, we are responsible for people physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Yeah, if you don't feel safe, you have to leave. But we want to make sure our retreat leaders are educated so that that never happens, ever.
Right. And
Oh
it was,
my
and it,
gosh.
it, yeah, and it took me around, like, I would say more than a year to go to another retreat because I was sort of like, oh, is this like what retreats mean? Right. It was the first time I was stepping into my spiritual journey because I was very disconnected with my spirituality. And this was some of the steps that I was taking to get closer to that. And then when you
Wow.
get this experience, you're like, ooh, am I going in the right direction or not? So I knew, right, when I built this company, that this was something that, as a community of retreat leaders, of people who are helping people create transformation and change their lives, like we had to really be very mindful and take care of them and be very intentional.
Yes, absolutely. We owe it to them. That's our job. And so we need to take it seriously. You know, there's a lot of folks out there that are like, oh, I just want to try a retreat. But I get it. But stuff happens on retreats. When you do as many like as we have, you see the things that can go right and very wrong. And you really need to be on top of it and responsible and know why you're doing it. So, wow, I'm sorry you had that experience, but I'm so thrilled that you came back and
I,
decided to dive back into it deeply and now are very passionate about also educating retreat leaders. So
yeah, I
I
mean,
love that.
after that, I just went all in and I was going to retreats. Like I was going for 6 months, I was going to one retreat per week.
Mhm.
I went all in when I decided this is what I wanted to do, right? Because I saw this need for people to really learn how to run retreats profitable so they could make money, so they could really focus and be present for their clients. I was like, well, I need to like have an experience of like all the different types of retreats that are out there, what can go right, what can go wrong, all the things and experience, right? That is like something that is so important. And I don't know if you agree with me, Sheri, but I usually tell people if you want to be running retreats, you need to at least attend a couple of retreats yourself.
Oh my God, yes. And it's so funny because there are many people who say, I want to create a retreat, but how can you create something you have no experience about? It is definitely, even if you don't have like you don't want to go on a 10-day really expensive retreat, there are 2-day, 1-day things that you can experience to at least see, what do you really like? What don't you like? How would you like to express yourself in this container? What do you have to offer? And what would you do in a situation where things are not going right? Like if someone challenges you or whatever, or someone gets sick. So there's all different aspects, and I think it's really difficult to come up with what you want to share and do when you've never done one yourself.
Yeah, I think it's all about you need to experience it, right? Like you need to know what you like, what you don't like, how like even like the welcome experience, right? Like I worked in like luxury hotels, like everything. I've always loved luxury. I mean, not everyone has to be running luxury retreats. That's not what I'm saying here. But one of the biggest pieces of luxury in that space is really the welcome experience. How do you welcome people? How do you receive them? So if you've ever been to a luxury hotel versus like a budget hotel, what is the difference, right? Like, how do they treat you different? And that way you were able to make a decision. Do you stay in luxury hotels? Do you stay in budget hotels? Do you stay in mid-range hotels? That was the only way you were able to actually make that decision. So how could you do that if you have not tested and seen what you like and what you don't like? Because your audience wants something very similar to what you're looking for.
Exactly. So you also, I think people need to understand that the retreat is not for them. It's for their ideal client.
Mm.
And it's not only seeing, the aspect of seeing it and know what you like and what you want as far as what you want to design is really critically important, but it's also equally important to understand what is the experience that your ideal client needs and wants. Because what a 60-year-old woman wants on a retreat is not the same thing as a 25-year-old woman on a retreat. So we really need to get, when it comes down to retreat design and preparation and what experiential activities are we going to be offering, all those design aspects really reflect on the ideal client and how much time they have. Like a 60-year-old woman may have more time and say, I want a retreat that's 2 weeks. And someone who's 25 and might have some young kids at home are saying, I can't get away for more than 3 days. It totally changes everything. And all of these aspects need to be considered to really create a successful retreat because so much goes into it, right? The design, the pricing, the venue, the experiential activities, how you're promoting it and the vibe you're putting out there, and then how you're monetizing and supporting your people. And then, how I get crazy about the legalities and safety parts of it being an ex-physician. So all of those things come into the design aspect, and it's not as simple as people think. Oh, I'm just gonna do a retreat. No, it's really an entire thing that you're putting together that takes quite a bit of thought and consideration.
Yeah, you made me think about there's this company. I don't remember their exact name, but it's a retreat company, right? It's not even a retreat business, or they have a company that runs multiple retreats per year. And in their name, it says yoga, right? So when they started their business, it was yoga retreat something, right? And this company was there, like it started more than 10 years ago. And as they went through their business process, right, the growth of their company, they realized that actually the women who were coming to the retreats were 60-year-old ladies. So they had retreats, for example, they would do retreats in Cuba, and there was one yoga class throughout the whole experience. But besides that, they took them to do cigar rolling classes
Yes.
and salsa dancing, and like having all these experiences that were matching this ideal client that they had. Even though they started thinking, oh, I'm gonna do yoga retreats, they suddenly realized that what were they creating, their ideal client was someone completely different. So they had to adapt.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And I'm always a big fan of, putting out there who you want as your ideal client because retreats are so intimate. I don't want to be traveling with a bunch of clients that I can't resonate with and that I don't want to spend, let's say, 10 days with. It's like, last year I did a retreat. I had rented that 161-foot yacht in Croatia.
Mm.
I don't want to be trapped on a yacht with a bunch of people that I don't feel comfortable with. I want to be with the people I love and are excited to help transform in their life. So, yeah, that's really basic and core to what you want to create. Who do you want to travel with? Who do you want to help? Who lights your life up? What clients make your heart sing? That's what I always think about.
Yeah, and I feel like as much as what I've seen in this retreat industry for the past 5 years is that usually the ideal client tends to be a big bottleneck. Like people cannot make up their minds
Yeah.
because they want to serve everyone, right?
I know, but it's the kiss of death in marketing. And you're a
Yes.
marketer, Lenny, so we know, right? Look, our people are heart-based entrepreneurs, right? They want to help. And the thing is this, even if you could possibly help everybody, should you? You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like it's much better to bring a curated group of people together that will really resonate with each other than just saying, I'm going to help everyone. Because people, especially today, with so much divisiveness in the world, want to be with their tribe, whatever that tribe is. And I think if we really settle into that and see who is that for us, we will attract those people. 8 billion people out in the world. I'm sure we can find 10 people to come on our retreat that are the people that we want. We do not need to help everybody. And you're not going to have everybody, all 8 billion people on your retreat. So, I mean, pick pick someone, an ideal client, and that could be a previous version of yourself or who you were when you went through something that you're trying to help people with. So make a choice, put it out
Love
to the
to
universe,
make a choice.
make a choice.
Right, that's the only way to like grow and expand. And another thing that I do want to say is that of course there are people that and I have some clients that have like, for example, nonprofits, and they run retreats, and they're choosing someone who does not have the financial power, but they have a whole business strategy behind the scenes to fulfill and fund for those people to go into those retreats.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be choosing an audience that actually has the financial power to buy your retreats, unless you're going towards a nonprofit space that is very, very different than our, let's say, mainstream retreat business style.
Exactly, exactly. And we always say this to our students too. You can't sell a $5,000 retreat to somebody that can barely pay their rent. But sometimes people don't think about that when they're creating their ideal client and saying, I would love to help this kind of woman. Well, this kind of woman maybe is
There
not going
yet.
to buy a retreat or even be able to go on a retreat. So yeah, we do need to decide, and then that helps inform, when we know where they are in their lifespan. Like a 60-year-old woman might have a lot more money available and wants something more luxurious, and someone in their 20s and 30s might say, hey, give me a cool vibe 3-star place and I'm cool, like funky and fun. And then the one in the 60 and above may say, I don't want a roommate. I don't want to share a bathroom with someone or sleep in a room with somebody else. Give me
Or with
luxury.
8 people.
Exactly. I know for myself, when I go on retreats, I absolutely will not share a room.
Yeah.
And I find, like, on my retreats, the highest priced rooms go first. Always.
Yeah.
And in fact, the highest priced retreats of my students tend to sell out faster. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah, well, for me, I would say that it takes the same amount of work to sell something for $1,000 and $10,000. But
Yep.
once you're in this space, right, in the higher end, yes, you might think, oh, my pooler is smaller, right? So if you're thinking, I'm going to work with millionaires, well, okay, there's 24 million millionaires in the US. So my pool from 9 billion people now turned 24 million people. Could you actually serve 24 million people? I don't think so, right? So then from there, you go into your targeting and your segmenting and everything. But these people have a higher acquisition power and they make decisions faster
Yes, they do.
because they don't have to consider what will spending this money affect their life on.
Exactly. And they're more likely to see the value. So, for example, one of our students had a retreat she was selling, this is a few years ago, for $23,000. And she had been doing retreats that were between $6,000 and $8,000 normally. And it took her 6 months or 8 to 8 months to fill them. This retreat at 23,000 shocked her. She filled it in 3 days.
I love it.
3 days sold.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we do need to understand that behind the scenes, money is just a number, right? It goes up, it goes down. If you see your bank account, right? It's almost nowadays is almost fictional. Like how many people actually carry that much cash with them, right? So why wouldn't people pay $23,000 to go to a retreat that is going to change their lives, that is going to get them what they want, and that they know that the more they pay, the more actually interest they put in it, the more results they get.
Exactly. I think the bottom line is, and a lot of people don't think of it this way, but if the cost of your retreat is less than the cost of them continuing to stay where they are, your retreat, no matter what the price, is going to look like a bargain.
Right.
Because you're going to continue to suffer. How much is that going to cost you? So someone is asking you to pay $5,000, $8,000 for the retreat, and it's actually going to change your life. That's nothing, really.
Yeah. One of my favorite.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Go
was
ahead.
thinking like how much I spent on the retreats I went on, even with Don Miguel Ruiz. I spent more on those retreats, Lenny, than I did on medical school.
But it was better for you, right? You're here today.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. It's like people think, oh, I can't charge that much. That's too high. No, you charge. I mean, pricing from my point of view is what it is. You have your costs and you know what you're adding in for your net profit. I mean, it is
That's
what it is. So it's like get over it and value yourself and understand that this is what it is. And
yeah.
you are going to change lives.
Yeah, and I do believe that retreats have a lot to do with perceived value. So how do people perceive the value of your retreat? And one of my favorite stories is when I was in my retreat tour. So I went a few of those I did in I attended in my family's retreat centers, and a lot others I did outside with different teachers. But this one was a retreat that was for couples. So it was a couples retreat.
Uh-huh.
And I just went to my family's retreat center that Friday because I had to drop something off, right? I mean, there was no really a reason for me. I was not attending that retreat because it was for couples, right? And I was single. I was like, well, why would I go to a retreat for couples if I'm single? And I got there, and the teacher is like a psychologist and he does Chinese medicine. He looked at me and he said, like, Lainey, but why don't you stay? I said, like, well, because it's a couples retreat. And I said, like, no, but it's okay. Well, this will help you. So and then, okay. I said, like, well, fine, I'll stay. I had to go buy some clothes because I had no clothes to wear for the next couple of days. And then I'm sitting there on the opening circle, and they ask everyone, why are you here? And one of the husbands says, because this is cheaper than divorce.
That's what I'm saying.
This is cheaper than divorce.
Exactly.
And they're still married now. It was so much cheaper than divorce to go to this retreat. So, how much would this guy or anyone else who doesn't want to get divorced pay in order to go to a place where they can avoid that from the financial, emotional, spiritual, all the perspectives?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's a perfect example of what I'm saying, Lainey. So thank you for sharing that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely an important point.
Right. I mean, if I was married and I didn't want to get divorced, I would definitely pay $23,000. Easy. I would not even blink an eye.
Mhm.
Right.
Exactly.
The same.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had this client, and she used to do uncoupling retreats, right?
Oh yeah, very
Uh,
popular.
yeah, and there were $16,000. Every time she would put one out there, it will immediately sell because we created something that was so unique for her and that people actually wanted.
Yep.
Because some people do want to stay married, but other people just want to have a good relationship once they get divorced.
Exactly. Exactly. And it still saves them money
Yes.
because you can have an effortless divorce. I've had three marriages, so I know what that's like. The first two were actually very nice divorces because we were able to communicate and divide things up and have everything done before we even went to the lawyer. In fact, the second lawyer said, "Why are you guys getting divorced? You seem to love each other so much." And like we respect each other so much. And yes, we
Yeah.
love each other, but we can't live together. So yeah, point well made there. And I think, Lenny, in the end, with the pricing thing, it's getting our heart-based entrepreneurs to value themselves and really understand like the time and the effort and the heart that you put in the retreat and what the runway is to get a retreat filled, designed and filled and all of that, and to understand that they need to get paid for all of that time and what they share. It's not sustainable otherwise. And I find like so many of the people who come into the retreat business, so to speak, they have had a job before. They're not necessarily an entrepreneur, but they want to help people. Maybe they went through something or whatever it is. And so they're used to having a job and they don't understand what it takes to have a sustainable business that you can
Mm.
actually live off of. And so they're very skittish about charging what they are worth as a
Mm.
person. And I think getting people to that point is really important, not only because they deserve it and they need to be paid, but also because I think when we look at the larger picture of the travel industry, when you have retreat leaders who are actually creating travel experiences undercutting everyone else in the business, it's really bad for the business in
Yeah.
general. And retreat leaders should not be undercutting a trip to, let's say, Bhutan is pretty much what it is. Like if you look across the board at all trips to Bhutan, if they have certain hotels and there are a certain amount of days and they have certain activities, it is what it is. And then when a retreat leader says, "Oh, I can't add that much profit in there. I feel really bad." They're undercutting the industry, making it harder for other people to sell their trips at the proper price. And then also the perception of people looking at that trip may say, "Wow, why is that price so low? Is something wrong with that trip? Is it going to be bad? Is it, so it's all this perception and all of this mind stuff going on. But I think it's really important for anyone listening who's going to be creating a retreat, please price properly. Don't undercut the industry and don't undervalue yourself and your time and what you share.
Think like you mentioned so many good points here, but one that is like really sticking with me is that people believe that if they drop your prices, people will buy more. And
Oh,
it's
no,
not that like that.
no, no,
It's not
and
like
no.
that. it's the opposite. Because I mean, there is this phrase in Spanish, like, well, I'll use the one in English, but it's like basically it's too good to be true. So people think that when they see something so low price with all these amazing additions and that, this and this and that added into the thing, and right, like the snowflakes and I don't know, butterflies and everything, whatever you want to add into that. And then they see it and the price does not match their perceived value of the event. They're like, but why? Is this a scam? Is this kind of like the
Exactly.
Prince Nigeria email? And then they don't buy.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Lenny. And that is a good point. And people, who want to run retreats need to have a conversation with themselves about where these money issues are coming from. You know,
Yeah.
again, the value is the value. So why do you think you don't deserve that? What in your past has got you undervaluing yourself? You feel like people are going to judge you for the price of your retreat, that they think you're not genuine, or that you're ripping people off, or that you're greedy. What is it that is in your head about that? Because whatever it is, definitely not true.
I love that. It is not true. It is a lie that we tell ourselves. And Sheri, I know you have once a year, you run this great 3-day event about retreats. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. For the last 6 years, we've been running this event, which we call Rock Your Profitable Sold Out Retreat. It is an online event. And we have it for several reasons. One is community building so that we could come together and learn and share and have fun. Last year we had over 5,000 people. The year before, same thing. This year we'll probably get close to 6,000. And we have retreat leaders, newbies, and very experienced ones, along with retreat planners, travel professionals, and retreat venues. Because there's a lot of, you can meet a lot of people, even though it's online, but in the Facebook group, it's really fun. And it's deeply educational. And we want it to be so that everyone can attend. That is something that is really important to me. So it's by donation. You can basically pay what you want. If you pay over $100, 100 and above USD, you can keep the event. Otherwise, you have 10 days to consume the event. There's 3 main days. It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And then we have bonus sessions the following week, which are really fun. So I really encourage people to come. Again, it's not just for newbies, it's for experienced people. I guarantee you, and I know this because I've done this 6 years, I don't care how experienced you are, you will learn things you didn't know. That I can guarantee you. And you will come away with a better understanding of your responsibility, of how to design a truly experiential and transformational retreat, how to price it, how to promote it, how to monetize it, and how to do it legally and safely. So it's a blast. If you are anything around retreats, you've got to be there. So thank you for bringing that up, Lenny, because this is something I'm very passionate about. We look forward to this event. We prep for it for 3 solid months.
Yeah,
So
I think this is so important for everyone who's listening to this and everyone who's coming from like the podcast or from the email that you're receiving to watch this, for you to really see how, like, you've been in my space for a while, so you know how I show up, but it's important for you to also see how other people show up, what other things you can learn that you might have not learned yet. Again, like Sheri said, it doesn't matter if you've hosted 0 retreats or if you've hosted 100. There's always something you can learn, something you can take away. So if you have the time, because I'm not even going to talk about money because it's donation based. So if you have the time, you definitely want to make sure that you show up for this 3 days. And you can find the link in the show notes. That way, you can make sure that you can click on it, go sign up, and show up.
Exactly. We'd love to have you. It's really fun. We have our event concierges in the chat, and then we've got our coaches in the Q&A, and it's going a mile a minute, and it's fun, and it lets me be my funniest. So I try to really make people laugh and have a good time. At the same time, we're having serious conversations about things. So yeah, it's my yearly pleasure that I get to put forth. So thank you, Lenny. I really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. And for everyone who wants to come meet Sheri and me and so many other amazing and like great speakers and people who will teach you a lot more, like more about retreats, because there's so much to learn. I mean, like
Exactly.
so much to learn. You want to come to the Sellout Retreat Summit that is taking place from the 25th to the 27th in September. And you also have the link below to check out the different tickets that you can purchase. And right now we are on a pre-sale, so you get a very special deal. So you can come hang out with us in Mexico.
Exactly. And if you haven't been to Tepoztlan, it is amazing. I've run several retreats there, one time at the place that we're going. So it is really a special, and it's considered a magical town.
It is. So thank you so much, Sheri. And thank you everyone else for being here and for listening to this episode. And I will see you all next week.
Thank you, Lenny, again for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.